What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be taking a look at an exotic weapon that gained a brand new exotic catalyst during Season of the Seraph for Destiny 2. How much better did this exotic get? Well, let's get started. Now, the weapon in question is the Cloudstrike Exotic Sniper Rifle that was added back with the Beyond Light expansion. If you want to get this catalyst for yourself, it drops randomly at the end of a playlist activity completion. So me personally, I got mine at the end of a Rift game during the first week of the season when I was trying to do a seasonal challenge. You might get yours at the end of a strike, gambit match, etc. But once you get this exotic catalyst, you're not quite done. In order to equip it, you need to get a bunch of kills with the Cloudstrike itself. So you can simply head to an area with a very high enemy density. In the background gameplay, you're going to see I went to the Shurochi encounter within the Last Wish raid, and then simply get a bunch of enemy kills. Thankfully, because the Cloudstrike is causing lightning storms, it's pretty easy to kill enemies with this sniper rifle compared to other sniper rifles I've had to level up here. However, let's get on to what this catalyst does. But first, we need to take a look at what the Cloudstrike does at a base level. So the intrinsic trait is Mortal Polarity. Precision final blows generate a lightning bolt at the target's location. So again, that's what makes it actually relatively good at ad clearing, especially for a sniper rifle. But then you have another unique perk here, and this one is called Stormbringer. Rapid precision hits create a lightning storm at the point of impact. So, when the Cloudstrike first came out, it actually generated a ton of hype because what you have here is a rapid fire frame sniper rifle that is just going to cause lightning storms at a singular target that you're shooting. So imagine you're fighting a boss, you're shooting shot after shot after shot, and it's just doing these extra damaging lightning strikes. So compared to other sniper rifles within the game, you just do outright more DPS. And when the Cloudstrike first came out, if I'm remembering correctly, it was a little bit bugged in terms of the lightning strikes and doing a lot more than it should have, and as a result, this was actually used in raid boss DPS strategies, specifically against Taniks, the end boss within the Deep Stone Crypt Raid. However, Bungie since patched this, and it's really fallen out of favor ever since. So, can the catalyst actually improve that? Well, what it does is actually pretty simple. It's going to add triple tap, and also massively increase the handling, as you can see. Okay, so we have to kind of pause here for a sec. Triple tap on a weapon, as I was saying, that's known for having relatively high damage output. That is exactly what you want if you want to use this in a role specifically for boss DPS. It is going to massively extend your damage output potential because let's take a look at the native magazine size of the Cloudstrike. It's 7. That is a magic number with triple tap, and what I mean by that is if you have 4 rounds triple tap where you get 3 rapid precision hits, it will return 1 round to the magazine. It's just going to trigger once. But once you get to 5 rounds in a mag, triple tap will trigger twice. 7 rounds is the next magic number because then triple tap will actually trigger 3 times. Because remember, triple tap can trigger off of the ammo it's adding back into the mag. So, with this exotic catalyst, as long as you're landing all precision shots, which is pretty easy to do if someone is using a Divinity exotic trace rifle, which is exactly the strategy we're using in the background gameplay against certain bosses, you are going to shoot 10 times in a row before needing to reload. Now, to put that into perspective as how much extra shots that actually is, guys, you have 24 reserve ammo with the Cloudstrike at a base level. That's around 3 magazines and a little bit more. You're going to get 3 extra rounds per mag. That is 9 extra rounds for those 3 magazines. That is more than an entire extra 7-round magazine. That is a huge extra chunk of DPS you've just gotten. So hypothetically, triple tap is like exactly what the Cloudstrike was looking for to become viable within boss DPS strats. But does that actually pan out in game? Well, we took the Cloudstrike into the new Spire of the Watcher dungeon and utilized it against those new dungeon bosses. And a few things here. First of all, we do have auto-loading rockets on as well, because if the main source of your DPS is coming from your special, it allows you to shoot off a mag and then do a reload, swap to your rocket and get a cheeky auto-loading shot off, put it away, DPS with the next mag. Your rocket is going to be reloaded the next time you switch to it, right? So that is, if you want Omega DPS, the strat you want to do. Unfortunately, we didn't have a well here just because of the characters we're playing. However, we did become Radiant thanks to our Titan throwing his hammer and then spreading that radiance to us thanks to a fragment. So we're still getting like pretty good DPS. We're experimenting a few times, but the times we do the most DPS of, the phases, we actually chunk this guy. Like, we do nearly a half of his health with this middle DPS phase. That is very impressive, and I have no doubt that if you had a well and you did things really, really well, maybe even if you saved like a Arc Elemental well for Font of Might or used high energy fire, I do think you'd be able to two-phase this boss with the Cloudstrike. But already we kind of have a problem, because with linear fusion rifles, as you can see, it is an easy two-phase verging on a one-phase. So why wouldn't you just use linear fusion rifles over the Cloudstrike? And here is kind of the million-dollar question, because honestly, there's a lot of different approaches you could take here. The Cloudstrike is a special weapon, so if you're maybe solo and this is going to be a lot longer of an encounter, you have multiple damage phases and you're worried about getting ammo, it's significantly easier to have special ammo as opposed to heavy. Another important thing is that when we're DPSing with linears, we have 3 linears, right? Whereas with Cloudstrikes, we have 2 Cloudstrikes and a divinity. Now, if we all 3 had Cloudstrikes, undoubtedly we'd do more damage if we were all landing crits. But with the Cloudstrike, to get the max DPS output, you need to shoot it very fast, and when you're shooting a Cloudstrike as fast as possible, it's really hard to hit a crit on a moving boss, hence the Cloudstrike. So maybe in a raid DPS, when you only have 1 person with the divinity and then 5 people with Cloudstrikes, it would start to perform a lot better. Another important factor here, guys, is simply build possibilities, because if you do use a Cloudstrike for your source of DPS, you've freed up your heavy slot to be for something else. Heck, you can even put on a machine gun for ad clearing if you really want to, and that's obviously not possible if all your DPS is coming from linears in that heavy slot. And to be honest, you could just use both, like a legendary linear and a Cloudstrike. If one has ammo and the other doesn't, you're good to go regardless of what happens. So, at the end of the day, does the Cloudstrike with its new catalyst redefine the DPS meta? Well, no. It's just so much easier to use linear fusion rifles. However, that doesn't mean it's not worth getting and leveling up the catalyst for this weapon, because this is still extremely impressive DPS output for a special weapon. And because it's now going to open up some new build possibilities with your heavy slot, I think it's definitely something worth acquiring. And maybe in the future, if there's ever a sniper rifle buff, this thing could become absolutely busted. And so, guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating or especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.